I seen a bunch of cops and a whole bunch of yelling and screaming.
Well, like I said, I got the shakes right now just talking about it.
First at 6, neighbors left shaken after the two people who were shot and injured by a Border Patrol agent apparently drove themselves to this East Portland apartment complex and called for help.
Homeland Security has now identified them, and Portland police confirm both have suspected ties to the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Christine Pitawanich. The shooting happened yesterday afternoon outside Adventist Medical Center in Southeast Portland.
That is where our live team coverage begins with investigative reporter Kyle Laboshi, who has a look at the big picture. Kyle?
You know, we've been expecting to see some video of the shooting itself or the events leading up to it, but so far we have not seen that video. Earlier today, we did walk around the property, took a closer look at the building, and noticed there is a security camera pointed right down at the parking lot where the shooting occurred. Adventist Health confirms that it did receive a subpoena from the FBI and turned over all relevant material. Investigators returned to the scene in Southeast Portland, where U.S. Border Patrol agent shot two people. Federal officials identified the shooting victims as Luis David Nico Mancada and Yorlenis Bezabeth Zambrano Contreras. Newly obtained video shows one of them injured following the shooting. So what happened? Shortly after 2 on Thursday afternoon, U.S. Border Patrol agents were conducting a targeted vehicle stop according to Homeland Security. After officers identified themselves, the driver attempted to run over the law enforcement agents, according to Homeland Security. An agent fired a shot into the vehicle. The shooting unfolded in the parking lot of an Adventist Health primary care center.
There were so many people just sitting around, a lot of them in wheelchairs.
Patients like Leonore LeBeau were kept inside on lockdown.
To do something like that at a medical facility, that's as bad as doing it at a school, isn't it?
The driver, injured in the shooting, drove off to an apartment complex not far away, near Northeast 146th and East Burnside. Portland police responded after the man called 911 for help.
It looks like caller saying that he was shot twice by ICE and his wife was shot as well.
Who was shot? The Department of Homeland Security said Mancada and Zambrano Contreras had both entered the U.S. illegally from Venezuela, and federal authorities claim they have ties to the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua.
There is an association with the two folks yesterday and TDA.
A fact confirmed by Portland Police Chief Bob Day.
These two individuals are in stable condition. They are still hospitalized. They are in custody of the federal law enforcement.
And what has been the reaction? State and local leaders demanded transparency in the FBI-led investigation.
We know what the federal government says happened here. There was a time when we could take them at their word. That time is long past.
Protesters gathered outside Portland City Hall Thursday night, with additional demonstrations planned for the weekend, following the latest in a string of shootings in the U.S. by federal agents enforcing an immigration crackdown. This medical office was closed today along with the parking lot. At this point, no update from the FBI on timeline for this investigation.
All right, Kyle Laboshi in Southeast Portland with the big picture. Thanks, Kyle.
Let's go now to our John Adams, who was at the news conference with the police chief today. John, he had a message for people in the Latino community.
Christine, that's exactly right. And when the chief was delivering that message, he even became emotional talking to the Latino community, even reaching into his pocket to grab a tissue and wipe his eyes at one point during that press conference. Now, he wanted to make it clear that he was sharing information on the background of those two people who were shot and their affiliation with a gang, not to victim blame, but to be committed to the facts here. He added the woman shot yesterday had also been previously arrested for prostitution in Washington County.
It saddens me that we even have to qualify these remarks, because I understand, or at least have attempted to understand through your voices, your concern, your fear, your anger. This information in no way is meant to disparage or to condone or support or agree with any of the actions that occurred yesterday.
Now, Chief Day also said that he and Portland Police Bureau had no knowledge of that operation that was taking place yesterday before it happened. He also went on to say that he could not condemn the use of force by those federal agents, saying enough information from the investigation has not come out yet to make a judgment on that. Christine, David, back to you.
And Chief Day also saying he didn't really get a lot of sleep last night because he was talking to a lot of community members. John Adams reporting live. Thank you, John.
Okay, happening now, we're keeping an eye on several protests and vigils this evening. This is a live look near the scene of the shooting in Southeast Portland, where city councilors and Congresswoman Maxine Dexter are expected to speak. We'll check in with KGW's Alma McCarty there coming up in our next half hour.
Now we want to turn it over to Celine Stevens live from the Portland Ice Facility on the South Waterfront. Celine, how are things looking there tonight?
David and Christine, well, things are definitely busier compared to earlier on today when there were only a handful of protesters and some legal observers. But right now, as you can see, as we've gotten later into the evening, that amount of people out here has swelled. We're looking at around 50 people, potentially more, that are out here at the moment. And the number is expected to continue to grow as there's a planned march that's headed to the ice facility sometime very soon as people continue to make their views heard about yesterday's shooting.
I'm just ashamed in where we are right now as a nation.
Thursday's shooting of a man and woman by a Customs and Border Patrol agent led to immediate protests Thursday night throughout Portland that have continued into Friday.
It's tragic, and we're becoming more and more divided when we need to come together and say enough military action, goodbye federal agents. We can handle the situation.
Although it was only a small crowd present Friday morning at the Portland Ice Facility,
they never should have been here in the first place. Portland has control of the situation.
The passion from some
Fascists!
Was still there.
This is not the country that I served anymore. They've completely abandoned people, veterans, and just all Americans all over. It's a travesty and a disgrace.
David Prislak was initially on his way to Portland from Medford to protest the ICE officer who shot Renee Good in Minneapolis.
When I got into town is when I heard about those two people getting shot in Portland, here. And things have just gotten way too far in this country, just in the wrong way.
Vice President J.D. Vance spoke about the shooting in Minneapolis Thursday, saying that shooting was warranted.
The idea that this was not justified is absurd, and I think everybody knows it in their heart. You have a woman who aimed her car at a law enforcement officer and pressed on the accelerator. Nobody debates that.
Protesters have been demanding federal agents leave Portland, with some even protesting the ICE facility at City Hall Thursday when they learned there was an emergency situation in the city.
What I can report is that recently, within the last couple minutes, there's been an emergency in Portland. The mayor is on the right now with police, including ICE. Something's happened.
So which Portlander did they kill today then?
Brenda with the Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition says,
we are seeing an agency and officers who are operating in a way without any fear of reprisal, and it's scary.
DHS and Portland police say the two people involved were tied to a Venezuelan gang. Brenda says,
I would say that there has been a lot of information that comes from this administration. I'm not saying what they're saying is misinformation now, but I wish I could have faith in an administration that says they're going to investigate it fully before pointing fingers at anyone else but themselves.
So according to PPB, last night there were 6 arrests here at the ICE facility, with one of them being the well-known Portland Frog, who was arrested for disorderly conduct in the second degree, as well as interfering with a peace officer. Again, right now there's around 50 or so people here, a lot of people holding signs. There's candles lining the streets out here. The inflatable costumes are back. People are playing music, and overall things have remained peaceful while I've been out here. Back to you.
And of course, yes, city leaders urging peaceful protesting. Celine Stevens reporting live from the South Waterfront. Thank you, Celine. We also went back today to the neighborhood along 146th and Burnside, where officers found the two people who had been shot and spoke with neighbors. We heard mixed reactions there. Some upset, others are afraid because this happened so close to home. A woman who says she knows the two who were shot described them as friendly. Video shared with KGW shows medics addressing one of the shooting victims on a sidewalk in the apartment complex.
I came outside, I looked down by the red truck that was parked closest to the building here. There was a victim on the ground, looked like he had like multiple wounds.
How long have they lived here?
I would say like less than a year. Oh, I just know that they're pretty family oriented, you know, they big family and they just seem nice.
There's been reports that they were part of a gang.
I've never seen any gang activity, honestly. Like I said, they're pretty family oriented.
We'll hear more from neighbors there in Northeast Portland about what they witnessed ahead at 6:30.
We'll stay with KGW for continuing coverage of the breaking news. Look for the latest anytime at KGW.com and on our free TV streaming app, KGW+.
To new developments tonight, and cell phone video appearing to show the moments leading up to when an ICE agent shot and killed 37-year-old Renee Good on Wednesday in Minnesota. A warning, you're about to see and hear the video, though you will not see Good getting hit.
NBC News obtained the video, which was apparently recorded by the agent himself, Jonathan Ross. Take a look.
You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
Tough to watch. Good's wife says she was a Christian trying to build a better world, but the Trump administration has painted her as a, quote, domestic terrorist. Leah Waldman has more from Minneapolis.
While protesters in Minneapolis continue to face off with federal agents,
I will now invite us to take a minute of silence to honor the life of Renee Good.
A moment of silence and a declared day of unity, days after 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good, a U.S. citizen, was shot and killed by an ICE agent while in the driver's seat of her car. Students, parents, and educators also reeling from a clash between ICE agents and community members outside of Roosevelt High School.
I was hit with a rubber bullet just by standing there on the Minneapolis Public Schools property as a bystander.
Some calling on ICE to stay away from school grounds.
As we saw on Wednesday, they do the exact opposite of making schools safe.
The Minneapolis mayor continuing to urge ICE to get out of his city and the state, and renewing his call for local involvement in the deadly shooting investigation.
Include local experts in the process. We got nothing to hide from here. All we want in Minneapolis is justice and the truth.
The precedent here is very simple. You have a federal law enforcement official engaging in federal law enforcement action. That's a federal issue. That guy is protected by absolute immunity.
In Minneapolis, I'm Lee Waldman.